Every other animal on Earth eats its food raw. Bears eat raw salmon. Lions eat raw wildebeest. Chimpanzees, our closest living relatives, eat raw fruit, raw leaves, raw insects, and occasionally raw meat. They live in environments where fire occurs naturally. They have watched fire. Some of them have been observed warming themselves near fires started by lightning. Not one of them has ever used fire to cook. Woman's cook. Every known human society in history and in the ethnographic record cooks its food. Not some societies. Not most societies. Every one. Cooking is so universal across human cultures and so ancient in the archaeological record that anthropologist Richard Wrangham, who has spent much of his career studying the relationship between fire and human evolution, argues that cooking is not simply something humans do. It is, in a deep biological sense, part of what humans are. We are, in Wrangham's phrase, the cooking animal. And understanding why, understanding what cooking actually does and what it did to the bodies and brains of our ancestors, is one of the most illuminating windows into the question of what made us human. Start with what cooking actually does to food, because most people have a surprisingly incomplete picture of this. Cooking is not primarily about making food taste better, though it does that. It is not primarily about killing pathogens, though it does that too. Cooking is, at its most fundamental level, a form of external pre-digestion. When you apply heat to food, you break down the complex molecular structures, the cell walls of plants, the collagen in meat, the starch granules in tubers, that your digestive system would otherwise have to break down itself. You are essentially doing some of the work of digestion before the food ever enters your body. The result is that cooked food releases significantly more energy than the same food eaten raw. This has been demonstrated experimentally. Primatologist Rachel Carmody and colleagues at Harvard conducted studies in which mice were fed the same foods, either raw or cooked, and the mice given cooked food gained significantly more weight. Not because they ate more calories, but because their digestive systems extracted more energy from the same amount of food. A raw sweet potato and a cooked sweet potato contain the same number of calories on paper, but your body extracts a dramatically different amount of usable energy from each. Cooking increases the bioavailability of nutrients. It makes the energy in food accessible in a way that raw consumption does not. Here is why this matters for human evolution. The human brain is extraordinarily expensive. It represents only about 2% of body weight, but consumes somewhere between 20 and 25% of the body's total energy budget. No other primate comes close to this proportion. To run a brain this expensive, you need a lot of energy, reliably, consistently, every day. Raw food diets, while nutritionally adequate for the animals that evolved to eat them, are insufficient to support the energetic demands of the human brain at scale. Primates that eat raw food spend between 6 and 8 hours a day eating and digesting. Even with this investment of time and energy, the raw food energy yield is not enough to sustain a brain this size and metabolic cost to the human brain. Wrangham's cooking hypothesis argues that the discovery of cooking, probably somewhere between 1 and 2 million years ago, associated with the emergence of Homo erectus, was the key energetic event that unlocked the brain expansion that ultimately produced modern human cognition. Before cooking, large brains were metabolically impossible to sustain. After cooking, the energy yield of food increased dramatically, the time required to eat decreased substantially, and the surplus energy could be redirected toward the most metabolically expensive organ in the body. The human brain did not expand because humans became smarter. Humans became smarter because cooking made enough energy available to sustain a larger brain. The fossil record provides striking corroboration of this. The transition from the earlier hominins, Australopithecus and early Homo, to Homo erectus, roughly 1.8 million years ago, is associated with a dramatic change in anatomy. Homo erectus had a significantly larger brain than its predecessors, but also had a significantly smaller gut. The digestive system of Homo erectus was substantially reduced compared to earlier hominins and compared to other great apes. This matters because the gut, like the brain, is metabolically expensive. It consumes a great deal of energy to maintain. In the bodies of other great apes, the gut is large and elaborate because processing raw plant material requires extensive digestive machinery. In humans, the gut is proportionally much smaller. The expensive tissue hypothesis, proposed by Leslie Aiello and Peter Wheeler, suggests that the reduction in gut size and the expansion of brain size are not coincidental. They are related. The energy freed by shrinking the gut was redirected toward growing the brain. And the gut could only shrink if the food coming into it was already partially processed, which is exactly what cooking does. There's more. Cooking did not just change the energy equation. It changed human anatomy in ways that are still visible in your body today. Human teeth are dramatically smaller than the teeth of other great apes. Human jaws are weaker. Human digestive systems are shorter. Human stomachs produce less acid. All of these are adaptations to a diet of cooked food that is soft, pre-processed, and easy to break down. You are, in a very literal anatomical sense, built for cooked food. Your body has evolved to expect it. Raw food diets, while manageable in the modern context with careful planning, are genuinely difficult for humans to sustain. Long-term, in the way that raw food diets are perfectly natural for other primates. Studies of people who eat entirely raw food diets consistently find that women on such diets have significantly disrupted reproductive function. Many of them stop menstruating entirely, a sign that the energy budget is insufficient to sustain reproduction. This is not a minor finding. It suggests that cooking is not a cultural add-on to human biology, but a biological necessity. That the human body, shaped by millions of years of evolutionary adaptation to cooked food, genuinely requires the energy density that cooking provides to function at full capacity. Beyond energy, cooking changed the social structure of human life in ways that may have been equally important. Anthropologist Wiessner, who has studied the social life of the Kung San hunter-gatherers of southern Africa, observed that cooking and the fire around which cooking happens creates something unique in the animal world. A focal point for social interaction, a place where individuals gather not to compete over food, but to share it, to talk, to transmit knowledge, to maintain the social bonds of the group. The campfire is not just a cooking technology. It is a social technology. It created the conditions for the kind of extended, relaxed, cooperative social interaction that is distinctive of human societies. The sharing of food, the telling of stories, the transmission of knowledge, the maintenance of relationships across the group. In Wiessner's research, conversations around the fire accounted for a disproportionate share of the social transmission of cultural knowledge, myths, histories, social norms, practical skills. The fire made the night safe and warm. The cooking fire brought people together at the end of the day in a way that no other gathering point in the animal world replicates. Nighttime conversation around fire, Wiessner argues, was not incidental to human cognitive and cultural evolution. It was central to it. Cooking also changed the relationship between males and females in early human societies in ways that may have been foundational to the distinctive human social structure of pair bonding and cooperative child-rearing. Wrangham argues that in the context of early cooking, females who invested time and energy in cooking food became targets of food theft by stronger males. The solution that evolved, he suggests, was the pair bond, a committed relationship between a male and female in which the male provided protection for the female's cooking investment in exchange for exclusive reproductive access. This is speculative and contested by other researchers, but it points to the possibility that cooking did not just feed the human brain. It may have restructured human social life in ways that rippled through the entire arc of human cultural evolution. There's a paradox at the heart of all of this that is worth sitting with. Cooking is usually described as a cultural invention, something humans figured out how to do, a technology we developed. And it is a technology, but it is also something deeper than a technology. It is something that evolution has incorporated into the human body so thoroughly that we are now biologically dependent on it. The human body is built for cooked food in the same way that a cow's body is built for grass or a koala's body is built for eucalyptus. We did not just learn to cook. We evolved into a species that cannot thrive without cooking. The question of why humans are the only species that cooks is, in the end, really a question about what happened when one lineage of primates learned to control fire. The answer, unfolded over millions of years and encoded in the size of your brain and the smallness of your gut and the sharpness of your cognitive capacities, is that it changed everything. It changed what we could eat and how much energy we could extract from it. It changed how long we needed to spend eating. It changed the size of our brains and the size of our guts. It changed our social structure. It changed what happened after dark. And it made possible, over deep time, the kind of cognitive complexity that eventually produced language and culture and science and everything else that distinguishes human life from the life of every other species that has ever existed on this planet. Every one of which, to this day, eats its food raw.